Communication is one of the most powerful skills you can develop, yet it's often overlooked or taken for granted. How we express ourselves, listen, and connect with others shapes nearly every part of our lives, our relationships, our work, and even our confidence. But improving communication doesn't have to be complicated or take years. In fact, with just 4 focused hours, you can make real, noticeable changes that will transform the way people hear you and how you understand them. This isn't about learning fancy words or memorizing techniques that feel unnatural. It's about practical, everyday steps you can take right now to become clearer, more confident, and more connected. You'll learn how to make eye contact that instantly builds trust, how to listen so deeply that people feel truly understood, and how to speak with intention so your words carry weight and meaning. You'll discover simple habits that help you control your tone and body language, eliminate those little filler words that weaken your message, and use pauses to create impact. You'll also learn the importance of asking the right questions to deepen conversations quickly and reflecting on your interactions daily to keep growing. This is a step-by-step guide designed to help you build a strong foundation and keep improving day by day. Imagine walking into a room and having people naturally pay attention when you speak, knowing exactly how to express yourself in a way that feels honest and powerful. Picture yourself in conversations where misunderstandings disappear because you're listening carefully and responding clearly. This kind of change doesn't come from luck. It comes from commitment and practice, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Over the next few chapters, you'll find clear, actionable advice that anyone can use. Each idea is simple but effective, helping you build skills that last a lifetime. Whether you want to improve personal relationships, advance in your career, or just feel more confident in everyday talks, this is the path forward. Stick with this, and by the end of these 4 hours, you won't just be talking, you'll be connecting. You'll be heard, you'll be understood. And that is the real power of communication. Chapter 1. Master eye contact, to build instant human connection. The first thing people notice about you isn't what you say, it's how you look at them. Before a single word is spoken, before your voice has the chance to leave your lips, your eyes speak for you. Eye contact is the beginning of all human communication. It's your silent message to the world that says, I see you, I acknowledge you, I respect you. That single act can transform a dull conversation into something meaningful and powerful. When done right, it creates connection. And connection is what makes people listen. If you want to become a better communicator, you must start with your eyes, not your voice, not your vocabulary, not your story. Your eyes are the doorway. When you make honest, steady eye contact, you show the person in front of you that you are fully present, that you are with them. And that is rare. In today's world, most people are distracted. They look away, they glance at their phones, they avoid depth. So when someone makes eye contact that is warm, focused, and sincere, it immediately separates them from the crowd. Most people never think about it, but every meaningful relationship begins with a moment of eye contact. Whether it's a friendship, a professional connection, or something more personal, that first glance is the spark. It's not about staring or being intense, it's about being real. When you look someone in the eye, you offer them your attention, and attention is the rarest form of generosity. But here's what most people get wrong. They either overdo it or avoid it entirely. They look down when they speak, or they stare so hard it becomes uncomfortable. The key is balance. The right kind of eye contact feels like listening with your eyes. It feels like you're holding space for someone without pressuring them. It's not a contest of dominance. It's an act of connection. Eye contact works because it touches something deeper in us. It speaks to our human need to be seen. Every person you meet is carrying an invisible sign that says, "Please notice me, please hear me, please see me." When you give someone that moment, when your eyes meet theirs and you stay with them, they feel it, they remember it, they trust you more. And trust is the foundation of all powerful communication. To master eye contact, you don't need to change your personality. You don't need to be extroverted. You just need to practice being present. Start small. The next time you're in a conversation, resist the urge to look away when you speak. Hold the person's gaze just a little longer than feels natural, not in a way that's rigid or mechanical, just enough to show that you are with them, that you're not distracted, that you're fully engaged. Watch how they respond. You'll see a shift. They'll open up, their shoulders will relax, their voice will slow down, because when someone feels seen, they also feel safe. And when they feel safe, they share more honestly. That's the secret to deeper conversations. It's not about having the right words. It's about creating the right space. Eye contact creates that space. You can practice eye contact every day. At the grocery store, at work, with your family, with strangers. The goal isn't to be perfect, it's to be consistent. Each moment is a small opportunity to build your presence. When you're ordering coffee, look the cashier in the eye and say thank you. When you pass someone in the hallway, give them a brief but steady glance and a nod. It may seem small, but over time, it trains your brain to stay present, and presence is power. It's also important to understand what happens when you avoid eye contact. When you look away too much, people feel that. They might think you're nervous, dishonest, or uninterested, even if that's not true. Perception matters. If you want people to respect you and take you seriously, you need to show up with your full presence. That includes your eyes. People listen more closely to those who look them in the eye. It signals authority, sincerity, and care. This doesn't mean you never break eye contact. That would feel unnatural. Human connection is a rhythm. You hold the gaze, you look away to gather your thoughts, you return to it. That flow builds comfort. The goal is not to dominate with your eyes. It's to invite, to say, "I'm here with you. I'm not rushing. I'm not distracted. I'm open." Think about the last time you had a conversation where someone truly looked at you and listened, not with their ears only, but with their entire presence. You probably walked away from that exchange, feeling understood, maybe even empowered. That's what great communicators do. They don't speak to impress, they speak to connect, and eye contact is the first bridge to that connection. Now think about the moments when communication breaks down. Often, it starts with distraction. You're talking, and the other person is glancing at their phone, looking over your shoulder, checking the time. It doesn't take long to feel dismissed. Words don't matter much when the eyes are somewhere else. So if you want to be a communicator who people respect and remember, begin with the most basic discipline: give them your eyes. There's also a mental shift that must happen. You have to believe that the person in front of you matters. Not just when you agree with them, not just when it's convenient. Every person has value, and when you look them in the eye, you remind yourself of that truth. You build the habit of human respect. That alone makes you more powerful. You'll also notice that eye contact changes you. It makes you braver. It sharpens your focus. When you look someone in the eye and speak your truth, you build inner strength. You train yourself to stop hiding. That's not always easy, especially if you've spent years avoiding confrontation or fearing judgment. But growth begins with discomfort, and learning to hold someone's gaze, even when it feels vulnerable, is a form of courage. Courage isn't about loud speeches, it's about small acts of presence. When you stay with someone through your gaze, you're saying, "I won't shrink, I won't hide. I'm willing to connect, even when it's uncomfortable." That courage builds character, and character builds influence. In difficult conversations, eye contact becomes even more important. When emotions are high and trust is low, the way you look at someone can either calm the tension or escalate it. A soft but steady gaze can bring the temperature down. It shows that you're listening, that you care, that you're not here to fight, but to understand. This is how strong communicators lead. They bring peace through presence. You don't need perfect words to be persuasive. You need to be present. When people feel that you're really with them, they listen differently, they open up more. They trust you faster, and that trust gives your words more weight. This is why great leaders have mastered eye contact. They understand that communication isn't just about sending a message. It's about creating a connection. You can learn this too. It doesn't require talent. It requires attention. Give people your eyes, and you give them something rare, your presence. And remember, it's not about making people feel watched. It's about making them feel seen. There's a difference. Being watched makes people defensive. Being seen makes people feel valued. You want to create that feeling. You want the people you speak to, your family, your co-workers, your clients, your friends, to walk away thinking, "I felt something real in that exchange." That's what great communicators do. Every time you practice eye contact, you strengthen your character. You become someone who doesn't flinch, someone who doesn't run from the moment. You become someone who stays. And in a world that's constantly rushing and distracted, that kind of presence is rare. It's magnetic. People are drawn to it. They remember it. If you want to influence others, if you want to lead, if you want to inspire, start by mastering eye contact. Not as a trick or a tactic, but as a habit of respect, a habit of presence, a habit of self-discipline. It's a small change, but small changes, done with intention, create big transformations. In just a few minutes of practice each day, you can shift how people see you. You can earn their trust faster. You can hold their attention longer. You can deepen your relationships. And you can do it all with something as simple as the way you look at them. Your eyes are not just for seeing, they are for connecting. And if you're serious about becoming a better communicator, it begins here. Show up. Stay with people. Offer them your eyes. Give them your attention. That's where real communication begins. And once you master this, every other skill becomes easier. You don't need a new personality. You don't need fancy language. You need presence. You need consistency. You need sincerity. You already have everything you need. You just have to practice. Begin now. Hold your gaze, be there fully, and watch your communication and your life change. Chapter 2. Practice active listening to understand before responding clearly. Most people hear, but very few actually listen. Listening is one of the most underestimated skills in life, yet it has the power to transform every relationship, every conversation, and every outcome. If you want to be understood, if you want to speak with impact, you must first develop the ability to truly understand others. That's what active listening is. It's not just nodding while someone talks. It's not waiting for your turn to speak. It's the discipline of giving someone your full attention, holding space for their words, and absorbing what they say without rushing to respond. This kind of listening requires effort. It demands presence. It forces you to set aside your own inner noise, the judgments, the impatience, the need to be right, and instead focus completely on what the other person is trying to say. When you do this, you will hear more than just words. You'll notice their tone, their hesitation, their energy. You'll hear the emotions underneath. And when people feel heard on that level, they open up, they relax, they trust you. Trust isn't built through clever replies. It's built through presence. Most arguments happen because someone didn't feel understood, not because of the content of the conversation, but because of the lack of attention. When people feel ignored or interrupted, they shut down, they defend, they push back. But when they feel that someone is listening with intention, with patience, and without the urge to correct or challenge, the conversation shifts. It becomes productive, respectful, honest. If you want to improve your communication skills in a way that actually works, you must stop treating conversations like debates. Instead, treat them like opportunities to understand. That doesn't mean you have to agree with everything you hear. It means you listen long enough to fully understand what's being said before you decide how to respond. This shift changes the dynamic of every interaction. It removes tension. It builds bridges. It deepens your influence. Active listening isn't passive. It's not just about being quiet. It's about showing that you're fully engaged. That means using your body language. Face the person. Maintain a calm and steady posture. Give them your eyes. Show them that you're not just waiting for a pause to jump in. Show them that their words are being received with respect. That kind of listening is powerful. It's rare, and it's unforgettable. There's something else that happens when you practice active listening. You become a better thinker. When you really listen, you give your brain time to slow down. You hear new ideas. You spot patterns. You learn faster. Communication isn't just about speaking well, it's about thinking clearly. And clarity comes from listening deeply. You'll also begin to notice how much noise people carry into conversations. Most people don't speak from clarity. They speak from emotion, from stress, from distraction. And if you're not fully listening, you'll miss the real meaning behind their words. That's how misunderstandings happen. That's how relationships break. But when you listen with your whole attention, you can detect the truth beneath the surface, and that gives you an edge. In business, in friendships, in leadership, everywhere. Listening also requires humility. It's an act of setting aside your ego. It means acknowledging that you don't know everything, that someone else might have something valuable to share. When you practice this regularly, you become more grounded. You start to lead with curiosity instead of assumptions. You ask better questions. You respond with more care. And people notice. They feel the difference. One simple way to improve your active listening is to pause before you reply. Give yourself a few seconds of silence. Not just to think, but to honor the other person's words. That small pause communicates something powerful. It says, I heard you. I'm considering what you said. I'm not just reacting. I'm responding with intention. That pause can shift the entire energy of a conversation. Another practical habit is to paraphrase what you heard. Not in a robotic way, but in a thoughtful, clear tone. Say something like, here's what I think you're saying. Is that right? This creates a feedback loop. It shows that you're not guessing. You're checking for understanding. This avoids confusion. It builds alignment. It keeps communication clean. Active listening also improves your emotional intelligence. You learn to pick up on non-verbal signals. You sense when someone is uncomfortable, unsure, or holding back. You begin to hear the conversation behind the conversation. This helps you navigate conflict with more skill. You learn when to speak and when to stay silent. You know when to push and when to step back. This wisdom can't be learned from books. It comes from real listening, from practice, from showing up with attention. The truth is, most people just want to be heard. That's what makes them feel valued. That's what makes them open their hearts. When you give someone that space, you create an emotional connection, and connection is the currency of communication. Without it, your words won't land. With it, even the simplest message carries weight. You don't have to be a genius with words to be a great communicator. You just have to be intentional with your attention. That's what active listening is. And once you build that habit, every conversation becomes easier. You'll know how to diffuse tension. You'll know how to guide the conversation with care. You'll speak less but say more, because your words will come from understanding, not assumption. Every day gives you the chance to practice, in your home, at work, with strangers. Instead of thinking about what you want to say, think about what the other person is trying to say. Hold that space for them. Pay attention to the feeling behind their words. Give them time to finish. Ask questions that help you understand, not questions that steer the conversation back to yourself. This doesn't mean you become passive or invisible. It means you become strategic. You learn when to speak for maximum impact. You become someone whose words matter more because you listen more. That balance of silence and speech is what makes people trust you. Over time, you'll notice something else. The more you listen, the less you argue, the less you react, the more calm you feel. Because listening creates space. Space creates understanding, and understanding creates peace. If you want to lead, start by listening. If you want to influence, start by listening. If you want to grow, start by listening. This skill will sharpen your relationships, your thinking, and your sense of self. And it starts with one simple shift. Choose to understand before you respond. Do this every day, and you will not just become a better communicator, you will become a better person. Chapter 3. Speak with purpose to influence people with confidence. Most people speak without thinking about the impact of their words. They talk to fill silence, to respond quickly, or to prove a point. But when you speak with purpose, you change everything. You stop wasting words. You start choosing them with intention. You learn to influence not by talking more, but by speaking with clarity, strength, and focus. Every word you speak becomes a reflection of your values, your clarity, and your confidence. To speak with purpose means that before you open your mouth, you know what you want to communicate and why it matters. You're not just talking to be heard. You're speaking to create a shift, to move something forward, to connect. You take responsibility for what your words are doing, how they land, and what energy they carry. People notice this. They feel it. Purpose in your speech makes you credible, magnetic, and trustworthy. Confidence doesn't come from volume or speed. It comes from knowing your message and standing behind it without needing to prove anything. When you believe in what you say, you stop over-explaining. You stop apologizing. You get to the point, and you deliver it with calm strength. People listen more closely when they sense that you're not trying to impress them, but instead trying to serve them with something true and valuable. One of the most important things to understand is that clarity is confidence. When your thoughts are clear, your voice becomes powerful. That's why preparation matters. The most confident communicators are not the ones who wing it. They're the ones who take a moment to prepare, to define their message, and to speak from a place of calm certainty. They know what they want to say, and they know why it matters. That's what creates influence. Not noise, not volume, not speed, but precision and intention. If you want people to follow your words, you must stop trying to sound impressive. Instead, focus on being useful, being honest, being real. Speak from your experience. Speak with emotion when it matters. Speak about things you know and admit when you don't. That kind of transparency builds trust. It gives your words weight. People don't want perfection, they want truth they can feel. When you speak with purpose, you also become more economical with your words. You don't need to dominate the conversation. You don't need to speak just to fill time. You understand that silence can be just as powerful as speech, and you use your words to build, not to distract. This simplicity cuts through noise. It allows people to hear the essence of what you're saying without getting lost in unnecessary details. Every powerful communicator asks themselves before speaking, what is the message here? What do I want the other person to take away? What is the result I'm hoping for? This discipline stops careless talking. It forces you to think before you speak. It creates structure and clarity. You're no longer throwing words into the air. You're delivering something meaningful, with intention behind it. There's also power in slowing down your speech. When you speak too quickly, it feels rushed, nervous, scattered. But when you slow down and let each sentence breathe, it creates space for your words to land. It signals confidence. It shows control, and it allows your message to carry more weight. People pay more attention when they feel that what you're saying has been carefully chosen, not impulsively blurted out. Purposeful speech also involves knowing when to stay silent. Not every moment needs your input. Some moments require presence, not participation. When you learn to hold your words until they are needed, your voice gains power. You become someone people listen to more closely because you don't speak without intention. Your silence creates anticipation. And when you finally speak, it has meaning. Influence doesn't come from being the loudest voice in the room. It comes from being the clearest. It comes from delivering your ideas with steadiness and purpose, not emotion and reaction. To build this habit, practice distilling your message into one sentence before you speak. Ask yourself, if I could only say one thing right now, what would it be? This simple step can change the way you communicate forever. When you speak with purpose, your relationships become stronger. People feel that they can trust you because you don't waste their time. You don't overwhelm them. You give them clarity. You listen well, you think clearly, and then you respond with care. That kind of communication creates respect. It eliminates confusion. It leads to faster decisions, healthier discussions, and more productive outcomes. This skill also helps you manage conflict more effectively. Instead of reacting emotionally, you take a breath and choose your words. You stay grounded. You avoid personal attacks. You speak only what is true, what is useful, and what moves the conversation forward. This discipline protects your integrity. It allows you to navigate difficult moments with maturity and strength. To develop this skill, start with small situations. Before you reply to a text, pause and consider your intention. Before you speak in a meeting, get clear on your key point. Before giving advice, ask yourself if you understand the situation well enough to offer anything valuable. This habit of checking your purpose before you speak builds mindfulness into your communication. Over time, it becomes second nature. There is also value in practicing articulation. Confidence isn't just internal, it's expressed through your voice, your pace, your choice of words. Practice speaking clearly. Record yourself. Listen to how you sound. Work on simplifying your language. Avoid vague statements. Use words that carry meaning. When your speech is clean and direct, people feel the strength behind it. Above all, speak from your values. Let your words reflect what matters most to you. Speak about things that make people think, grow, or reflect. Don't chase approval. Don't mimic others. Build your voice from the inside out. The more aligned your words are with your values, the more powerful they will be. Purpose is not a style, it's a foundation. It's what makes your communication unshakable, even in uncertainty. When you focus on speaking with purpose, you'll notice that people start leaning in when you talk. They'll begin to value your input more. You'll be invited into more important conversations. You'll be asked to share your views because people sense that you don't speak unless it matters. That reputation is built not by trying to sound confident, but by speaking with discipline and clarity again and again. Speaking with purpose doesn't make you rigid, it makes you effective. It doesn't make you serious, it makes you intentional. This habit saves time. It reduces misunderstandings. It strengthens your influence, and it brings more peace to your interactions, because you know that you're being honest, clear, and thoughtful in everything you say. You don't need to wait to practice this. Every moment is a chance. Every conversation is an opportunity. Be deliberate. Be focused. Speak from your values. Think before you reply. And most importantly, say only what moves the conversation forward. This is how you speak with confidence, not from force but from clarity. When your words reflect your truth and your purpose, people will not only listen, they will remember. Chapter 4. Eliminate filler words to sound sharp and powerful. Most people don't realize how often they weaken their message with filler words. These are the small, meaningless sounds and phrases that slip into your speech and dilute the power behind your voice. Words like, you know, sort of, and I think may seem harmless, but they shape how people perceive you. When you use them too often, you come across as uncertain, distracted, or unprepared. If you want to sound clear and strong, you must learn to eliminate them. The shift doesn't happen overnight, but it begins with awareness and a decision to speak with more care. Filler words sneak in because we fear silence. We think we need to fill every second of space, so we throw in sound while we search for our next word. But silence is not your enemy. Silence is strength. When you pause instead of filling space, you give yourself a moment to think. You show the listener that you're deliberate. You also allow your words to land with more weight. If you want to sound sharp, you must stop cluttering your speech with noise. You don't need to rush. You don't need to prove anything. Let your words carry their own weight. Every filler word you remove gives your speech more precision, and precision is power. When you speak with fewer distractions, people are more likely to understand and remember what you said. You sound more prepared, even if you're not. You sound more confident, even if you feel unsure, because it's not about how loud or fast you speak. It's about how clean your message is. When your language is focused, people focus, you gain their attention. You gain their respect. You sound like someone worth listening to. The first step is to recognize your habits. Everyone has their own default filler words. You may not even realize how often you use them until you record yourself speaking. Try it. Record a conversation, a voicemail, or a short explanation. Then listen to it carefully. Count every time you say, like, you know, or anything else that doesn't add meaning. You'll be surprised how often those words slip in, and once you're aware, you can start to replace them with something better. Silence, clarity, or stronger language. This is not about being perfect. It's about being intentional. Even one or two well-placed pauses can completely change the tone of your message. A pause gives your audience a moment to catch up. It gives your next sentence more punch. It tells people that what you're about to say matters. Filler words, on the other hand, distract and dilute. They signal hesitation. They create noise, and over time they chip away at your credibility. To reduce filler words, slow down your speech. Most filler words show up when your mouth moves faster than your brain. When you slow down, you give yourself more control. You can pause. You can choose your next word. You can stay focused. This may feel strange at first. You may worry that silence will make you look unsure, but the opposite is true. Silence, when used with intention, shows confidence. It shows thoughtfulness. It shows maturity, and people respond to that. Another way to eliminate filler words is to build better preparation habits. The more prepared you are, the less likely you'll need to search for words mid-sentence. Before an important conversation or presentation, take time to outline your message. Know your key points. Know your examples. Know your goal. The more clear your thoughts are before you speak, the more crisp your delivery will be. Filler words often appear when we're unclear. Clarity chases them out. Also, practice speaking in short, direct sentences. The longer your sentence, the more likely you are to slip into rambling or filler. Short sentences keep you grounded. They help you stay connected to your message. They create rhythm and control, and they give your words structure. When every sentence has a purpose, there's no room for filler. In conversations, listen more than you speak. This gives you more time to think. It also teaches you to value words. When you speak less often, you're more likely to choose your words carefully. You begin to see speaking as a responsibility, not just an opportunity. And this mindset naturally reduces the need for filler. You become someone who doesn't just talk, you communicate. And there's a difference. Another tip is to replace your most common filler with a pause. Every time you feel the urge to say, just stop. Give yourself 1 second of silence. Then continue. That pause will feel longer than it really is, but that's only because you're not used to it. Over time, that 1 second pause becomes your secret weapon. It becomes a mark of discipline, and people will notice the difference. To build this habit, practice out loud. Choose a topic, set a timer for 2 minutes, and speak without using a single filler word. It's harder than it sounds, but the more you do it, the more aware you become of your patterns. And awareness is the first step to change. You don't need hours of daily practice. Just a few minutes each day will make a huge difference over time. As you get better at eliminating filler, you'll start to feel more control over your voice. Your words will carry more weight. People will stop interrupting you as often. They'll hear your conviction. They'll sense your thoughtfulness. And most importantly, you'll start to believe in your own message. Because you're not speaking to fill space, you're speaking to say something that matters. Sharp communication starts with small improvements. 1 less 1 more pause, 1 stronger sentence. These are not big changes, but they add up. They reshape how people hear you. They reshape how you see yourself. And they open doors that unclear speech may have kept closed. When people can hear your message without distraction, they trust you more. They follow your lead. They believe in what you're saying. This habit doesn't just help in formal settings. It improves everyday conversations. It sharpens your thinking. It trains your mind to stay focused. It teaches you to slow down and be present. These are not just speaking skills, they are life skills. And they make you better in every area, from relationships to work to leadership. Eliminating filler words is not about sounding polished. It's about being understood. It's about giving your thoughts the strength they deserve. It's about standing behind your words without hesitation or apology. Every time you cut out a filler word, you're telling the world that your message matters, that you've thought about it, that you respect the people listening, that you're not speaking to fill air but to create value. So from this moment forward, speak with purpose. Speak with strength. Let your message breathe. Let your silence speak. Cut the noise. Deliver clarity. And become the kind of person whose words always leave a mark. Chapter 5. Control your tone to match your true message. Your words may be clear, but if your tone doesn't match them, your message will be misunderstood. Tone is more than the volume of your voice. It's the emotional signature behind every word you speak. It colors your meaning, shapes how people receive your message, and defines the emotional energy you bring into a conversation. You can say the right words with the wrong tone, and they will fall flat. Or worse, they may be misinterpreted. Your tone carries the weight of your intention. It tells the other person how you feel, whether or not you say it directly. When your tone is off, your message is lost. When you speak, people don't just hear your words, they feel your attitude. They detect your sincerity or your tension. They sense if you're calm, upset, confident, or insecure. This is why tone is such a powerful part of communication. It reveals more than your vocabulary ever can. If you want to be fully understood, your tone must align with your meaning. If you want to be trusted, your tone must reflect clarity and self-respect. If you want to influence others, your tone must show conviction and care. You've experienced it before. Someone says, "I'm fine," but their tone says the opposite. Or someone offers a compliment, but it feels empty because there's no warmth behind it. These are reminders that what you say and how you say it are not the same thing. And when they don't match, people believe your tone, not your words. This is why mastering your tone is essential to building honest relationships, solving conflict, and becoming a communicator others want to follow. The challenge with tone is that we often don't hear our own. We're inside our heads, thinking about what we mean, but we're not paying attention to how it sounds to others. That's why so many conversations break down, not because the facts are wrong, but because the delivery feels off. If your tone sounds defensive, people stop listening. If your tone sounds aggressive, people shut down. But if your tone is grounded, steady, and sincere, people open up. They feel safe. They feel respected. And that creates connection. Tone is not something you fix by trying to sound a certain way. It's something you adjust by becoming more aware of your inner state. If you speak with tension, check your mindset. Are you frustrated? Are you rushing? Are you trying to dominate? Your tone reveals your emotional posture. If your voice is sharp, your tone is probably shaped by irritation. If it's flat, you may be emotionally checked out. Before you speak, pause and check your presence. Ask yourself, what energy am I bringing into this conversation? What emotion is riding on my words? The more calm you are, the more controlled your tone becomes. You don't need to be cold or robotic. In fact, warmth is one of the most powerful tones you can use. But warmth is not about sounding overly cheerful or fake. It's about speaking from a place of care. It's about slowing down enough to be fully present with the person in front of you. Warmth shows that you value the other person's experience, and it makes your message easier to receive. It invites trust. Confidence in your tone does not require volume. Many people confuse a loud voice with a powerful one, but true confidence is quiet and firm. It's the tone that says, "I know what I'm saying, and I don't need to prove it." This kind of tone gets attention without demanding it. It sets the pace of the conversation. It keeps things grounded, even when emotions are high, and it makes people feel safe to share their truth in return. In high-stakes conversations, tone becomes even more critical. When tension rises, the wrong tone can inflame the situation, but the right tone can bring it down. If you stay composed, your tone becomes an anchor. If you react, your tone becomes fuel for more conflict. This is why discipline matters. The way you manage your tone under pressure tells others whether they can trust you when things get tough. Anyone can speak calmly when things are easy, but maintaining a steady tone when things are hard is the sign of real emotional maturity. To improve your tone, start by listening more. Pay attention to how people speak, not just what they say. Notice the difference between someone who speaks with compassion and someone who speaks with sarcasm. Feel the difference between encouragement and criticism. These examples will tune your ear. They'll help you become more sensitive to your own tone. And when you catch yourself sounding impatient, sharp or unsure, you'll know how to correct it in real time. You can also record yourself speaking and play it back. Listen for the tone behind your words. Does it match your intention? Does it sound how you want it to sound? Be honest with yourself. This exercise can be uncomfortable, but it's one of the fastest ways to gain self-awareness. It helps you hear yourself the way others do, and that insight is priceless. One of the most overlooked aspects of tone is consistency. If your tone changes too much from one situation to another, people get confused. If you're warm with one person and cold with another, it sends mixed signals. If you're confident one day and passive the next, people question your stability. This doesn't mean you need to sound the same in every setting, but it does mean that your tone should always reflect integrity. You should sound like the same person, honest, present, and emotionally clear, whether you're speaking to a friend, a coworker, or a stranger. The goal is not to perform a tone, but to develop a way of speaking that reflects who you really are, at your best. That means doing the inner work. The more peace you have within, the more peace you bring to your tone. The more grounded you are, the more grounded your words become. Your tone is a mirror of your state. So the most powerful change often starts in silence, before the words even form. To align your tone with your true message, don't rush. Think clearly, breathe fully, speak only when you mean it. This slows down the noise in your head and helps your words come from a place of clarity, not reaction. Over time you'll develop a tone that feels honest and strong at the same time. You'll be able to speak with impact, not because you're trying to impress, but because you're rooted in truth. You don't need to change your voice to control your tone. You need to change the way you connect to your message. When you care about what you're saying, when you believe in it, and when you speak from that belief, your tone will naturally match your message. People will feel it. They may not remember every word, but they'll remember how you made them feel, and that feeling comes from tone. Every conversation is an opportunity to practice. Every word you say carries your energy. When you master your tone, you master your presence. And when your presence is strong, your influence expands. This is not just a skill for speaking, it's a way of being. Speak with a tone that reflects your truth. Speak with intention, speak with discipline, and let your tone do more than deliver words. Let it deliver who you are. Chapter 6. Ask better questions to deepen every conversation fast. A question is more than a request for information. It's an invitation. It opens a door to deeper understanding, emotional connection, and shared truth. The right question can change the tone of a conversation, redirect its energy, and uncover what would otherwise remain hidden. Most people ask questions to get answers, but the most effective communicators ask questions to build trust, discover meaning, and draw others out. They know that when a conversation feels stuck, the way forward isn't to talk more, it's to ask better. The quality of your questions often determines the quality of your relationships. Shallow questions lead to shallow connection. Surface-level curiosity creates surface-level dialogue. But thoughtful, open-ended, sincere questions allow people to open up. They make others feel seen. They let someone know that you care about who they are, not just what they do. When you ask someone a question that makes them pause and reflect, you give them the rare gift of being heard without being judged. Most conversations follow a pattern that rarely changes unless someone takes the lead. People ask, "How are you?" and get a vague answer. They talk about the weather, their routines, or the news. These exchanges feel safe, but they're rarely fulfilling. The reason is simple: the questions aren't built to go anywhere. They close the conversation down instead of opening it up. If you want to change that, you must first learn to ask questions that reveal what matters. The first step is to shift from questions that start with "do you" or "did you" to those that begin with "what," "how," or "why." These kinds of questions encourage people to share more than a yes or no. They invite stories, insights, and emotion. For example, instead of asking, "Did you like the meeting?" try asking, "What stood out to you in the meeting today?" Instead of, "Do you feel okay?" ask, "What's been weighing on your mind lately?" These small shifts create space for honest, open responses. It's also essential to avoid asking questions with an agenda. When people feel like they're being interrogated or steered, they close off. A good question isn't a trap, it's a mirror. It helps someone see themselves more clearly. It gives them a chance to share what they really think, not what they assume you want to hear. If your tone is judgmental or your question is leading, the depth you're looking for will vanish. But if your question is rooted in genuine interest, the conversation will unfold naturally. The best questions are often the ones that come from stillness. They emerge not from a script but from presence. They show that you're truly listening, not just waiting to speak. When someone finishes a sentence and you pause, not to change the subject but to ask, "What did that mean for you?" you give them a moment to reflect. That moment creates a shift. They feel safe, they feel like their words matter, and they're more likely to open up again. Asking better questions isn't about being clever or intellectual. It's about being grounded and intentional. The goal isn't to impress, it's to understand. And the more curious you become about someone's inner world, the more connected you become to their experience. Questions can be bridges, built with care, that lead into someone's reality. They allow you to walk together in understanding, even when you come from different backgrounds or beliefs. It's also important to follow the thread of a conversation. If someone shares something meaningful, don't move on too quickly. Stay with it. Ask, "Can you tell me more about that?" or "What made that moment stand out for you?" These follow-up questions show that you value their story. They show you're not just checking boxes. You're engaging at a deeper level. This builds a kind of trust that can't be forced. It must be earned through consistent, respectful curiosity. There are moments when the right question can unlock something powerful. It might be as simple as, "What do you need most right now?" or "How can I support you today?" It could be, "What's been inspiring you lately?" or "When did you last feel truly alive?" These questions don't come from a textbook. They come from a mindset that seeks to connect, not control. They come from the awareness that every person has a story waiting to be heard, if only someone takes the time to ask. In your daily life, you can start sharpening your question-asking skills by paying close attention to how people respond. Do their eyes light up? Do they pause and reflect? Do they share something real, or do they give you a rehearsed answer? If your questions don't lead to openness, adjust them. Be more specific. Be more present. Be more willing to slow down and truly engage with what the other person is saying. Avoid the temptation to rush in with advice. Sometimes the most powerful question you can ask is simply, "What do you think?" or "How do you feel about that?" These questions show that you're not trying to fix the person, you're inviting them to explore their own wisdom. That kind of space is rare, and people remember it. They remember the way it felt to be asked something real, without pressure, without expectation, just an invitation to speak their truth. Better questions also help you understand yourself. When you take time to ask, "Why did I react that way?" or "What am I really afraid of?" you begin to uncover the patterns behind your behavior. You become more aware of your motivations, your wounds, and your growth. This kind of self-questioning builds emotional intelligence. It helps you lead your life with clarity rather than confusion, and it makes you more empathetic toward others because you've taken time to understand your own inner world. If you want to deepen conversations quickly, stop focusing on being interesting and focus on being interested. Your attention is one of the most valuable gifts you can offer. When paired with thoughtful, open-ended questions, it becomes transformational. People will feel drawn to your presence, not because you talk the most, but because you create space for truth to emerge. That's a rare quality, and it's one that will elevate every area of your life. Conversation is an art, and questions are the tools that shape it. Used with care, they can create breakthroughs in minutes. They can diffuse tension, heal misunderstanding, and inspire new ideas. But it takes practice. It takes humility. It takes a commitment to learning how to ask, not to control but to connect. The next time you sit across from someone, remember that within your reach is the ability to go deeper, faster, simply by asking a better question. Chapter 7. Use pauses wisely to create clarity and impact. Most people believe powerful communication comes from saying more. They think it's about having the perfect words or sounding clever and quick. But real influence is often built in the space between the words, not in the words themselves. A well-placed pause has the ability to do what even the most brilliant sentence cannot. It creates presence. It gives meaning. It allows what's been said to settle and what's about to be said to carry weight. A pause, when used with intent, doesn't interrupt the message, it amplifies it. We live in a world where people rush to fill silence. In conversations, meetings, even casual talks, there's often a nervousness that creeps in during quiet moments. As a result, most people speak without breathing, piling thought upon thought in fear of seeming uncertain or losing attention. But ironically, it's the pause that often captures the attention. When you stop, intentionally, confidently, you create a natural break that makes others lean in. They want to know what's coming next. Silence, when used wisely, makes your words feel earned. The most impactful speakers, those who influence, inspire and leave a lasting impression, understand that pacing matters. They don't rush, they don't speak just to fill time. They use silence as a tool to highlight what matters. When they make a strong point, they stop. They don't dilute it by moving on too quickly. Instead, they let it breathe. This pause gives people a moment to absorb the message. It creates space for reflection. It signals importance without ever having to say, "This is important." Pausing also gives you control. It allows you to collect your thoughts, adjust your tone, and choose your next words with clarity. In high-stakes situations, negotiations, interviews, emotional conversations, people often feel pressure to respond immediately. But speaking too quickly can lead to missteps, defensiveness, or diluted meaning. When you pause, even briefly, you show composure. You demonstrate that you're not reacting, you're responding. That difference is subtle but profound. A pause isn't hesitation, it isn't uncertainty. It's a mark of thoughtfulness. And when used deliberately, it adds depth to your voice. It signals that you're confident enough not to rush. It says you're present, not performing. That presence builds trust. People can feel when you're truly in the moment with them, not lost in your head or trying to impress. And often, a simple pause can do more to build credibility than 1,000 carefully crafted phrases. In conversations, pausing gives others space to speak. It invites contribution. It shows you're not just waiting to talk, you're actually listening. That small gap after someone finishes their sentence, if you resist the urge to jump in, can be the space where honesty lives. They may go deeper. They may share more. Or they may ask you something real. But it only happens if you allow silence to do its job. This is especially important when discussing difficult or emotional topics. People don't need instant answers or perfect advice. They need space. They need to know that you're not just reacting but truly hearing them. A pause communicates that better than any words. It says, "I'm with you." It says, "I care about what you're saying." It gives both you and them room to feel, think, and respond with honesty instead of reflex. In public speaking, the pause is a weapon. A sentence delivered with urgency, followed by silence, creates a rhythm that the audience feels. It gives them time to catch up and connect. A powerful idea, stated clearly and followed by quiet, becomes memorable. It stands out. And in a world full of noise, what stands out is what stays. Learning to pause also helps you avoid filler words, those unconscious habits like you know, like, and I mean. Most people use them to buy time when they're unsure, but those habits weaken your message. They signal insecurity. A pause, on the other hand, buys time without sacrificing clarity. It gives you the space to think and choose the best way forward. Over time, replacing filler with silence sharpens your speech and makes you sound more composed. It's important to practice pausing, not just when speaking, but when listening. When someone shares something meaningful, don't immediately jump to respond. Sit with it, let their words hang in the air. That moment of quiet shows respect. It allows the conversation to deepen. It tells the other person that you're not just listening to reply, you're listening to understand. In relationships, especially close ones, the way you use silence can make or break a moment. When emotions are high, when conflict is near, or when someone is trying to open up, your ability to pause can shift the energy. You don't always need to fix. You don't always need to defend. Sometimes silence says, "I'm here," and that's enough. As you build the habit of pausing, you'll begin to notice how much power it holds. You'll find yourself less reactive, more grounded. You'll choose your words more carefully, not because you're afraid to speak, but because you know the weight they carry. You'll find your presence expanding, not by speaking louder or faster, but by learning when to stop and let the moment speak for itself. The pause teaches discipline. It forces you to slow down, to trust that you don't need to prove yourself in every sentence. It teaches you patience, both with others and yourself, and it teaches you respect. The kind that recognizes that communication isn't just about talking, it's about creating space for meaning to emerge. If you want to become more persuasive, more influential, and more respected, start practicing the pause. Notice when you're rushing. Pay attention to the moments when you feel the urge to fill the silence, and instead of giving in to that impulse, just stop. Let the silence be there. Let it do its quiet, powerful work. In that space, you'll discover something most people miss, that sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Chapter 8. Match body language to reinforce your spoken words. People listen not only with their ears, but with their eyes. Long before a word leaves your mouth, your body has already begun the conversation. It tells others whether to trust what you say. It signals whether you believe your own message. It shows whether you're open, guarded, confident, unsure, present, or distracted. This is why body language is not secondary to speech. It is part of the message itself. If your words and body send different signals, people will believe your body every time. The most impactful communication happens when your gestures, expressions, posture, and movements support what you're saying. This alignment creates authenticity. It doesn't matter if you're delivering a presentation, having a casual chat, or sitting silently with someone you care about, your body is always speaking. And people are always reading it. If your tone says one thing and your body says another, trust is lost. People might not point it out, but they'll feel it, and their confidence in your message will shrink. Start with your eyes. They're the first sign of presence. Looking someone in the eye while you speak shows that you're engaged. It tells them you mean what you say. Shifting your gaze too often, or avoiding it altogether, sends a signal of uncertainty or disinterest. But looking at someone directly, especially during moments of emphasis, grounds your message in sincerity. Eye contact isn't about staring. It's about connection. It's about letting the other person know you're here with them, not just performing words. Next is your posture. The way you carry yourself shapes how others perceive you and how you feel in the moment. Standing tall, with your shoulders back and your head held steady, conveys quiet strength. It shows readiness and calm control. Slouching or folding into yourself, on the other hand, can make your message feel unsure, even if your words are clear. When your body is aligned, your message feels centered. People don't just hear confidence, they see it. Your hands can either distract or enhance what you say. Uncontrolled, fidgeting hands pull attention away from your message. But when used intentionally, they help clarify and punctuate your points. Open gestures, palms facing slightly upward, tend to be seen as honest and inclusive. Pointing or crossing arms, however, can feel aggressive or closed off. When your hands match the pace and tone of your voice, they guide attention. They underline what matters without stealing the spotlight. Facial expressions reveal what you feel before you speak. A slight smile can warm a conversation. A tense jaw can signal that something deeper is going on. People pick up on these cues even if they're not fully aware. That's why controlling your face isn't about pretending, it's about alignment. If you're saying something important, your face should reflect it. If you're expressing gratitude, your eyes should soften. When your face reflects your feelings, your message becomes more believable. Movement matters too. Shifting your weight constantly, tapping your feet, or pacing without purpose can distract your listener. Stillness, on the other hand, suggests control. It doesn't mean being stiff, it means being intentional. Walking slowly as you speak, leaning in to show interest, stepping back to give space. All of these movements help guide emotional energy. They show people that you are aware, not just of yourself, but of the space and connection between you. Even the way you breathe influences how your body communicates. Shallow, rapid breaths tend to tighten your voice and create tension in your gestures. Deep, steady breathing grounds you. It keeps your body calm, which helps your message feel anchored. When your breath supports your words, your body finds its natural rhythm. That rhythm reassures others and gives your communication a sense of flow. In conversations that matter, whether personal or professional, your body can often do more than your voice. A supportive touch on the arm, a nod at the right moment, or a relaxed stance can communicate empathy, agreement, and trust faster than any words can. These moments build emotional rapport. They show the other person that you're not just exchanging information, you're building a connection. Matching your body language to your words also prevents confusion. Imagine saying, "I'm excited," while your arms are crossed, your tone is flat, and your face is blank. No one will believe you. But if your eyes light up, your smile is real, and your body leans forward slightly as you speak, the message becomes believable. People don't want to decode your intent, they want to feel it clearly. And congruent body language eliminates doubt. It's not about being dramatic or over-expressive. It's about making your communication whole. Every part of you should send the same signal. When your body supports your words, people don't just hear you, they feel you. That feeling is what creates impact. It's what stays with people long after the conversation ends. The skill of matching your body language to your words is developed through awareness, not performance. It begins with noticing how your body reacts in different situations. Do you close off when you're nervous? Do you over-gesture when trying to sound confident? These patterns can be changed, not by forcing new habits, but by becoming more aware of your message. When your focus is on being clear, honest and connected, your body naturally follows. Practice in everyday moments. The next time you talk to someone, notice how you're standing. Notice your hands. Notice if your expression mirrors what you're saying. Start aligning your body to support your message in small, consistent ways. Over time, this alignment becomes effortless. It becomes part of how you communicate. People won't always remember your exact words, but they will remember how you made them feel, and how you made them feel depends largely on what your body was doing while you spoke. When your body supports your message, people trust you more, they engage more, they feel safer around you. They understand you not just intellectually but emotionally. The goal is not to manipulate. It's to become whole in your expression, to make your words and your presence one single clear message. When that happens, communication becomes more than exchange, it becomes influence. And that influence is built not just in what you say, but in how you carry yourself while you say it. Chapter 9. Reflect daily on your conversations to grow faster. Growth in communication doesn't come only from reading books or taking courses. It comes from paying close attention to what you're already doing. Every conversation you have, no matter how small or casual, is a mirror. It reflects how clearly you express yourself, how attentively you listen, and how deeply you connect. But without stopping to look into that mirror, you miss the opportunity to learn. Reflecting daily on your conversations isn't just about self-critique. It's about discovering the invisible patterns that shape how people respond to you and how you respond to them. You start to notice how your words landed, not just whether they were right or wrong. You begin to see the subtle ways your mood affected your tone. You remember the moments where you lost someone's attention, or where you felt you truly connected. These are the points of growth. Reflection allows you to capture those fleeting signals that slip away in the rush of everyday life. It's not about overanalyzing. It's about making sure you're not walking blindly through your communication habits. Most people have conversations and then move on. They forget what they said, how they said it, and how it was received. But the truth is, the fastest way to improve as a communicator is to pause at the end of the day and ask simple but honest questions. Who did I speak with today? How did I feel during those moments? Was I present or distracted? Did I speak with clarity, or was I vague? Did I truly listen, or was I just waiting for my turn to talk? These questions help you become aware of your default patterns. Maybe you notice that in high-stress situations, you tend to interrupt more. Or perhaps you realize that when you're tired, you become less empathetic in your tone. Awareness like this helps you grow not once in a while, but every single day. Communication becomes less reactive and more conscious. You start choosing your words with care, not out of habit, but out of understanding. Reflection is not about reliving every mistake. It's about seeing the lesson beneath it. When a conversation didn't go well, it's tempting to blame the situation or the other person. But growth begins when you look at what you could have done differently. Maybe you rushed through an explanation and left someone confused. Maybe you avoided a difficult truth and missed the chance to be authentic. Reflection turns these moments into insight, and insight builds skill. Sometimes you'll remember a moment of silence you didn't fill. At the time, it felt uncomfortable. But looking back, you realize that silence gave the other person space to speak. Or maybe you'll recall a question you asked that opened someone up unexpectedly. These are not just memories, they are evidence of what works. They are clues for how to have deeper, clearer, and more human conversations in the future. One of the most powerful shifts that comes from regular reflection is the ability to predict your own patterns. You begin to know your triggers. What kinds of comments make you defensive? What kinds of tones make you retreat? And once you know them, you can manage them. You stop getting caught off guard. You develop the kind of self-awareness that makes your communication feel grounded, no matter the situation. To grow faster, reflection must be consistent. It's easy to do it once in a while when something big happens, but the real transformation happens when you make it part of your daily rhythm. It doesn't take long. A few quiet minutes at the end of the day is enough. Sit still, rewind your day. Pick one or two conversations and walk through them mentally. Ask yourself how you showed up. Notice your body language, your tone, your intent, not to judge yourself, but to understand yourself. You'll begin to see how often small things matter. A rushed answer here, a dismissive shrug there, an opportunity to listen that you missed because you were too focused on your next task. These details are invisible to others, but obvious to you when you reflect, and they are exactly where growth lives. You don't have to fix everything at once. You just have to notice, because what you notice you can change, and what you change you improve. Over time, this habit builds something rare, self-trust. You stop wondering whether you're a good communicator. You start knowing where you're strong and where you're growing. That kind of clarity builds confidence. You don't walk into conversations with fear or doubt. You walk in with awareness. You're not guessing how you come across. You've studied yourself, and that makes your presence more intentional. Reflection also deepens empathy. When you review your conversations, you remember not just what you said, but how others reacted. You recall a shift in their energy, a pause in their voice, a look in their eyes. You begin to see beyond words. You start to understand what other people need from you to feel safe, seen, and respected. And when you learn to notice that, your conversations stop being transactions, they become connections. Growth in communication is not always dramatic. It's often invisible to others, but you will feel it. You'll feel yourself pausing before speaking, choosing better questions, letting others finish their thoughts. You'll find yourself more present, less reactive, more patient, and that feeling will start to spread, not just in conversations, but in your relationships, your work, your self-perception. The act of reflecting gives you access to a part of your mind that's often ignored, the part that understands your own behavior in context. It helps you stop repeating the same missteps. It frees you from automatic habits, and it allows you to refine your presence in a way that no external feedback ever could, because no one knows your inner world like you do. When you turn inward with honesty and consistency, you become your own best teacher. Each day you reflect, you refine. Each time you pause and look back, you take a step forward in your communication journey. The results won't always be immediate, but they will be lasting. And over time, the version of you who speaks will be sharper, wiser, and more in tune with others, not because you memorized techniques, but because you truly understand yourself. Chapter 10. Commit to lifelong improvement by tracking your progress daily. True mastery of communication is not a destination. It is a journey without an endpoint. Improvement is not a one-time event or a skill you can check off and forget. It requires dedication, patience, and above all, a commitment to lifelong growth. The key to sustaining this growth lies in tracking your progress daily. This practice keeps you honest, focused, and motivated, turning small, consistent actions into powerful transformations over time. At the heart of tracking your progress is the understanding that change doesn't happen overnight. It happens in increments, invisible day to day, but undeniable when viewed over weeks, months, and years. When you take time each day to review how you communicate, you create a record of your journey. This record serves as a mirror that reflects your efforts, successes, and areas that need more attention. Without it, it's easy to lose sight of your progress or become discouraged by occasional setbacks. Tracking your progress forces clarity. It pushes you to define what good communication means for you personally. It may mean fewer filler words, stronger eye contact, or more purposeful tone. Whatever your goals, writing them down and monitoring your efforts transforms vague intentions into concrete targets. This clarity gives your practice direction and purpose. It turns random attempts into focused action. This commitment begins with small daily rituals. After each meaningful conversation, pause and ask yourself, what went well? Where did I stumble? Did I stay present and listen fully? Did my words align with my intentions? These reflections don't need to be long or complicated. Even jotting down a sentence or two in a journal can deepen your awareness. This simple act builds a habit of accountability to yourself. Accountability is not about self-criticism. It's about honest appraisal. It's recognizing that every conversation is a learning opportunity, not a test of your worth. With daily tracking, you create a safe space to acknowledge imperfections without judgment. This approach encourages resilience. You learn to view mistakes as feedback, not failure. Each note you make becomes a step forward rather than a stumbling block. Over time, these daily records become a powerful tool to identify patterns. You'll notice trends in your communication style when you tend to lose confidence, what triggers impatience, or when your tone shifts unintentionally. Recognizing these patterns is a form of self-mastery. It gives you the power to anticipate challenges and prepare for them. It also reveals strengths you might have overlooked, reinforcing positive habits that build your confidence. Tracking progress daily cultivates discipline. Discipline is the backbone of any meaningful growth. Without it, even the best intentions fade. But when you commit to reviewing your communication every day, you cultivate a mindset of continuous improvement. You train yourself to stay curious, to seek out opportunities to do better, even when it's uncomfortable. This kind of discipline shapes character and deepens self-respect. This commitment also helps you celebrate small victories. Growth is often slow and subtle, making it easy to overlook progress. But daily tracking reveals incremental improvements, a clearer message, a better question, a calmer tone that compound into significant change. Celebrating these moments strengthens your motivation. It reminds you that improvement is not about perfection, but consistent effort. Integrating progress tracking into your routine is simpler than it sounds. It doesn't require fancy tools or extra hours. A notebook, a phone note app, or a voice memo at the end of the day is enough. The key is consistency, not complexity. The act of pausing to reflect creates mental space for growth. It slows the rush of daily life and invites intentional learning. When you track your communication progress, you also sharpen your focus on what matters most. Communication is not about impressing others or winning arguments. It's about connection, clarity, and trust. Daily reflection brings these values into sharper view. It helps you prioritize meaningful interactions over superficial chatter. This focus deepens relationships and enhances your personal and professional life. Committing to lifelong improvement through daily tracking strengthens resilience in the face of setbacks. Communication is inherently imperfect because it involves human complexity. You will face misunderstandings, awkward moments, and frustrations. When you see these not as failures, but as data points in your ongoing journey, you maintain momentum. This perspective builds patience and perseverance, two qualities essential for mastery. This process also fosters humility. It reminds you that no matter how skilled you become, there is always room to grow. Lifelong learners don't rest on past achievements. They stay open to new insights and willing to adjust. This humility creates space for genuine connection, as people sense authenticity and openness in your communication. By tracking your progress, you become an architect of your own development. You move from passive hope to active cultivation. You create a roadmap for growth tailored to your unique style and goals. This sense of ownership empowers you to take responsibility for your communication skills, turning them from a source of anxiety into a tool of influence. Ultimately, this practice transforms how you see yourself. You stop seeing communication as a fixed trait and start viewing it as a skill shaped by effort and intention. This mindset shift is liberating. It opens the door to endless possibilities for connection and influence. You realize that mastery is within reach, as long as you remain committed to learning and improving every day. Embracing daily progress tracking is not a burden but a gift. It's a chance to deepen your self-awareness, sharpen your skills, and nurture your relationships. The small actions you take each day compound into a powerful force for change. This is how ordinary conversations become extraordinary, and how ordinary people become remarkable communicators. In the end, the real value of daily progress tracking is that it aligns your actions with your highest purpose. It ensures that your words are not random but intentional, that your presence is not distracted but engaged, that your communication not only conveys ideas but inspires, comforts, and connects. This commitment is the foundation of true influence, and the hallmark of lifelong growth.